It is a budget that the Government of Saskatchewan says is about protecting communities while still planning for growth. Today, we're taking a closer look at Budget 2026-2027, which commits more than $700 million in direct provincial support to municipalities across the province of Saskatchewan. That's an increase of nearly $47 million over last year, about 7% to be exact. And it comes as communities continue to balance rising costs, infrastructure demands, and public safety concerns. Now, at the center of this plan is the record setting municipal revenue sharing total of $392 million, now more than triple than it was less than 2 decades ago. Urban, rural, and northern municipalities are all seeing increases as the province ties its funding model to economic growth. But beyond the headline numbers, the question for many local leaders is how far this funding will go. Nearly $240 million is being directed towards infrastructure programs, from roads to housing related projects, while rural transportation networks are also seeing a modest boost in this budget. Public safety is another major focus on this budget. Policing grants are increasing by $8.6 million, supporting new officers, community safety initiatives, and the expansion of programs like SCAN. New hospital public safety teams are also being introduced in major centers, including Regina, Saskatoon, and Prince Albert. And while spending is going up, the province says affordability remains a priority, holding the line on education property tax rates for another year. So what does this budget mean for municipalities on the ground? Are these investments enough to keep pace with growth and with the pressures facing local governments today? Joining us for today's episode of Municipal Affairs is the Honorable Eric Schmalz, Saskatchewan's Minister of Government Relations, to break down the numbers, the priorities behind them, and his vision for collaborating with municipalities and the province.
You stepped up to serve your community. Now take your leadership to the next level. Introducing GEMS, Governance Essentials for the Municipal Sector, a practical, Saskatchewan-based training program designed for council members and those who support them. Whether newly elected or a seasoned leader, GEMS helps sharpen the skills that matter most: decision-making, accountability, financial stewardship, infrastructure oversight, and navigating the complex realities of municipal governance. This isn't your typical classroom. GEMS is flexible, online, and built for busy people. You don't need a university degree, just a commitment to good governance. For some, it's been years since taking a course. That's okay. GEMS is designed to build confidence and knowledge. There is a short assessment, but it's there to reinforce your learning, not to trip you up. If cost is a concern, talk to your administrator, as there may be grants available to offset some of the costs. Because when local leaders grow, entire communities benefit. GEMS, because good governance isn't just important, it's essential.
Minister, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about Budget 2026-2027 in the province of the land of the living skies, beautiful Saskatchewan, and how this budget impacts municipalities. Start off quickly. How do you rate this budget when it comes to that relationship with municipalities?
Well, I'm happy to be here again, Chris. Always good to join you and have these chats of ours. This budget is all about protecting what we have in Saskatchewan currently to ensure that we are able to weather those forces outside of our provincial boundaries that are affecting so many provinces and territories and really nations around the world. So we're very happy with how we landed on this budget. When it comes to municipalities, we're very happy as well with what we've been able to provide to our municipalities, both urban and rural in this province. Significant increase to, of course, our flagship program, Municipal Revenue Sharing, our full participation in any and all integrated bilateral agreements with our federal counterparts on funding, as well as some sole source direct funding going into our municipalities when it comes to things like healthcare, capital investments.
The budget outlines a increase of about 7% support across the board for municipalities. What increased pressures are you hearing from municipal leaders that led to that increased investment into our municipalities through many different sources, which we'll be getting into in a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. So the increase to our municipal revenue sharing occurs through our formula, the formula that's laid out when it comes to calculating that. And it's an indicator that Saskatchewan's economy is strong and it is growing. We not to get too far into the weeds, Chris. I know we love doing complex mathematical calculations on the show here, but we do it over a course of every looking back every 2 years, 0.75% of the PST from the 2 years previous. So that's how it's calculated, and as that continues to grow, of course, that's an indicator that there is some significant investment coming into Saskatchewan, as well as government investment into those communities. So what we've been hearing from municipalities is the cost of doing business on a day-to-day basis is going up. Absolutely, inflationary pressures from again, things that are happening outside of our borders are playing on the ability of municipalities and us as a government to be able to make some significant investments in our province. So we're measuring that and ensuring that we are doing it in a comprehensive and pragmatic way, so that we are not eliminating services for the people of our province.
One of the big things that I know you have probably heard, so I'm not speaking tongue in cheek here, but one of the big concerns about the municipal revenue sharing is how adequately it's shared among all members, all municipalities, both urban, rural, and even northern. What role does your office play to ensure that that distribution does happen fairly? Because I speak to municipal leaders, and there's one in particular, Councillor Randy Donauer from Saskatoon. He says issues in small towns or northern municipalities or even rural municipalities are the same that are happening in big cities. It all just comes down to that zero, or how many zeros are after that first number. So how does your office and how does the province ensure that fair, adequate funding for all municipalities does happen?
Well, it's a program that we use a metric to ensure that all the municipalities, rural and urban, are being compensated in a way that's effective in ensuring that those communities remain viable, as well as are able to provide services to those residents. Uh, Look, our economy in Saskatchewan, the raw products, the raw goods are brought in from northern Saskatchewan, from rural Saskatchewan. They're brought in oftentimes to large urban municipalities, and the value add happens in those municipalities. So we want to make sure that that rural road base network is available to and capable of handling the commodities and goods that are being transported to our large urbans for either retransport somewhere else or the value add happening in those urban municipalities. So we look at all of those factors when we come up with our municipal revenue sharing program ratios, and we want to ensure that those communities are being supported to help grow the economy of Saskatchewan, which in turn brings more revenue to those municipalities.
Now, I know that you probably know Bill Huber and you probably have his number on your speed dial, the president of SARM, and they are probably happy in this budget where the rural municipalities are getting additional funding through road programs. And you just spoke about roads and how critical it is to the economy of Saskatchewan. How important is it to have a strong road network in your province when you do have so many natural resources that are shipped by road right now?
Yeah, and as you and I talked before about my previous municipal experience being a reeve for an RM. Actually, the RM that I represented had a significant larger amount of road than most municipalities. I think we were, I want to say, 1,400 kilometers. So it was significant. We used those roads. I know we
Just a
used those
little bit
roads.
of road networks in the arm of Prince Albert there,
Right.
Minister.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and again, those roads are integral in bringing those commodities, those raw commodities, to market. Either whether it's to a supply chain in a large urban municipality where you have a processing facility or a manufacturing facility, or whether that's to be put into a rail car in down to in Regina or Saskatoon and then shipped east or west. Those are the types of things that we have to ensure are available, so that there's no on our part, there's no delay in getting those goods to market and receiving the value, both for the people who are trading in the commodity as well as the people of Saskatchewan.
On public safety, another past job prior to entering into provincial politics for yourself. Police grants are increasing significantly in this budget. What specific outcomes do you expect from that additional $8.6 million investment into policing?
Well, look, Chris, I mean, you and I both know that all the good wishes and hopes and dreams that we could put forward when it comes to community safety don't equal boots on the ground. So we need to have real investment in those areas to ensure that we're not coming from it at a reactive approach, but more of a proactive approach. I've said this before in meetings that I've had with SARM and SUMA, that in my training as a former police officer, the first entrance on the use of force continuum is officer presence. 99% of incidents can be resolved by an officer just showing up. And that is what we want to be able to provide for our communities and our constituents across Saskatchewan, to ensure that those communities are receiving that full value from policing resources, and ensuring that they feel safe and willing to live, work, and raise a family in one of the greatest provinces in Canada.
In the budget, it outlines funding for about, I believe, 100 new municipal officers in the province of Saskatchewan. Now, I know it's still early days from when the budget was released to where we are now, but I've got to ask the million-dollar question. Do you have an idea where these officers will be placed and how quickly communities can expect to see them in their communities, or are they already seeing them right now?
Well, I know that our Minister of Community Safety has they're rolling out a fairly ambitious recruitment plan in conjunction with both municipal and RCMP organizations, to ensure that they have a good stream of quality recruits that are able to provide that service to communities. So that plan will be rolled out in the coming weeks and months with our Minister of Public Safety. That includes, I have to point out that we invested a significant amount of funding into policing resources last year as well. I believe there's funding for 180 new police officers in Saskatchewan last year. I believe that's the number. But it was something that we take seriously as a government, to ensure that we provide safety for those who are calling Saskatchewan home.
I want to flip to healthcare. I know it's not a municipal issue, but it is something. I literally got a text message from one mayor in northern Saskatchewan, well, central Saskatchewan, about 5 minutes after the budget was released. And that is the mayor of Rosthern, Saskatchewan. He literally texted me and said, Chris, I am not joking. I am excited that the funding that municipalities have to deliver for new infrastructure around hospitals goes from 20% down to 10%. How important was that change, do you believe? And are you hearing the same thing that I'm hearing from mayors across Saskatchewan, that 10% reduction is a godsend to them?
Absolutely, Chris. And again, that goes to speak to affordability in our municipalities, and the ability of municipalities to direct funding to other areas of need in those municipal boundaries. Look, I mean, we recognize that through the course of construction on several new healthcare capital projects that we're undertaking currently, and are coming to completion as well. We understand that those pressures are just an added component to overall pressures when it comes to financing municipalities. We were very, very excited to be able to come up with a model that was able to take place. Look, to go from 20 to 10%. And Chris, I don't like to get too political on here, but it was 35% under the NDP. So you take a look at the city of Prince Albert. They were currently building a $1 billion hospital there. That would have been over $300 million to the direct impact to the community here, to try and come up with that money. That is something significant that we were very excited to roll out in this year's budget.
Speaking, we're still around hospitals, but going back to public safety just for a quick second, this budget also outlines new hospital public safety teams are being introduced in Regina, in Saskatoon, and even in Prince Albert. What problem is this initiative designed to address?
Look, we want to make sure that people feel safe going into a healthcare facility in Saskatchewan. We want to make sure that people feel confident that they can go into that facility and be seen by a doctor and do that in a safe manner. That is something that is paramount to our healthcare plan. We want to make sure that we are able to deliver on that Patients First healthcare plan that was recently released here along in conjunction with the budget. So in order to do that, we have to make sure that people can come through the door with the confidence, knowing that they'll be safe and secure as they're going through their healthcare issues.
Now, I have learned a lot about Saskatchewan over the last 5 years of doing this show, and I finally realized what all the acronyms mean. And in municipal life, you live and die by the acronyms. But the SCAN program is also receiving funding this year, and that is good news for municipalities across the province. How effective has SCAN been, and what changes or expansions are planned for the program?
Well, we've increased the SCAN budget. Obviously, the acronym again, safer communities and neighborhoods. Coming from the police world, acronyms we had those for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that was something that we were well aware of. So SCAN is a very effective tool to use in promoting community safety. It's not just the illegal activity occurring on the streets. We want to ensure that the homes in the neighborhoods are not being exploited for criminal use, to ensure that nuisance properties or problem properties that are being used as flop houses for drug dens are able to be dealt with effectively by those municipalities. And that's what SCAN does. SCAN is there to assist those municipalities in dealing with those issues and those properties under the legislation.
It ties into the theme of this year's budget, which is really about creating a safer community and safer communities across Saskatchewan, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, it does. It's a I know that we don't want to have communities having to find their own path all the time in how to deal with the criminal element in their community. We want to be there to support them as much as we can. Regardless of whether they have a municipal police service or being served by the RCMP. We want to be able to support them with additional programs and additional services to ensure that the people of those communities are safe.
Now, at the beginning of the interview, you talked about the relationship not only between municipalities and the province, but the municipalities, the province, and the other level of government, which is the federal government. This budget includes cost sharing infrastructure programs with the federal government. How effective, and I know you and Suma and SARM have met with your federal counterparts, but how effective is that three-way collaboration in actually delivering projects on the ground, do you believe?
I would say it's massive. There is particularly when it came to the program known as the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ISIP, the provincial portion of that program over the course of its 10-year course that it ran was $700 million. That was just the provincial portion. And I would point out that 62% of that went to urban municipalities, and the remaining portion went to rural municipalities. Now, the urban municipalities, funny enough, the project volume was a lot smaller. So there were fewer projects, but they were bigger projects. Whereas with the rural projects, they were a lot smaller, but spanned a lot more of the provincial boundary geography. So we found that was a very effective program, and we are thankful whenever and wherever we can join with our partners, both federally and municipally, to invest in Saskatchewan, to invest in the infrastructure and the services that are being provided to our citizens here.
Gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off and ask you a semi-hard-hitting question, but I apologize if it comes out of left field. Community and transition. It is a program that many municipalities don't ever want to use, but unfortunately will have to use. Now, in this budget, it asks cities and northern municipalities to pay a little bit more. Do you believe that's fair for those municipalities to pay for transitions of smaller urban communities into rural settings?
Yeah, absolutely. And fair question, Chris. And don't ever apologize for a hard-hitting question or
I will
semi-hard-hitting question.
always apologize to you, Eric. Come on, we that's the friendship we've built over the last 2 years. Go ahead.
Listen. I hear the concerns from the urban municipalities on this program, but I would point out respectfully that the citizens who are being affected the most are in fact urban residents. The small towns and villages and hamlets that are being placed into under the umbrella of rural governance through the transition, the infrastructure needs of those communities still remain, and they are in fact urban residents until the point that the RM takes them over, and that infrastructure was urban infrastructure when it was taken over. So what we're trying to do is ensure that those systems, those services are still available to those residents, regardless whether or not they are being transitioned into a rural governance. We want to make sure that service and those utilities continue to be available to them because they're being moved into a rural situation through no fault of their own.
Does this budget go far enough to address the housing challenges that municipalities are faced with right now? Because more and more people are moving to Saskatchewan than they have ever in the past. And it seems like your population is booming every time I look at the census predictor that the federal government uses. Does this government address the housing challenges that municipalities are faced with, do you believe?
It does. We've tried to ensure that through more integrated bilateral agreements with our federal counterparts, that we are able to provide some of that infrastructure funding. And we're talking the in-ground infrastructure now. Yeah. We're talking the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund. We see the value in that. Obviously, water, wastewater, and solid waste management funding in municipalities is integral in growing the housing base or the availability of housing in those communities. So wherever and whenever we can, we obviously look to sign agreements with the federal government that will help provide for that funding for municipalities and lessen the burden for them to, we'll say, fertilize the ground in those municipalities to ensure that there's a place for those housing developments to take root.
I have two final questions for you, and they're both on the same topic, but looking at this budget as a whole, what's the one piece of this budget that you say, you know what, this is what I'm proud of? This is the part that I'm most proud of. What is that for you?
For me, it has to be, I'll say this as a member of the government, it has to be the $2.5 billion in affordability measures that we put in every budget. We've removed a significant portion of our provincial citizens off the provincial tax rolls to ensure that life is affordable for them. We want to make sure that we're able to provide the services and quality of services that people have come to expect while still maintaining a low tax impact to those individuals. As a minister, of course, I'm always proud to be able to provide and advocate for the municipalities in this province to provide them with those municipal revenue sharing dollars. And any time that I can join with them arm in arm and go to Ottawa and sing the praises of our municipalities and lobby the federal government to come on board with us and help support those municipalities as well, that is something I'm very proud of.
So is there a part of the budget that, I know we're still in yet early days, but it's a big budget and there's a lot in there for a lot of people to take away from. Is there a part of the budget that you look at and say, I wish this got a little bit more attention? What's that piece that kind of just went under the radar, but you want people to know about?
I think that our work on the integrated bilateral agreements that we've made, the work there that's been able to the collaborative approach that we've taken as a provincial government and municipalities in identifying areas of need within the province, not only as a municipal interest but a provincial interest. Providing for the people of Saskatchewan is a key component of any budget, and that is something that I think that we do well in spades here in this province. We come together as a provincial and municipal governments and sing the praises of our province and the people.
Minister, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking about the budget 2026, 2027, the province of Saskatchewan. I look forward to seeing you at the upcoming SUMA convention in beautiful Regina. And hopefully at that time we can grab a coffee and just continue this conversation like friends do. Thank you so much, Minister.
Absolutely, Chris. Good to see you. Thank you.
This episode of Municipal Affairs was brought to you in part by Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of the show. The show is where we take a closer look at the people, the policies, and the practical decisions shaping local governments across Canada. Now, each episode is designed to dig beneath the headlines and bring forward real-world conversations about the challenges and opportunities facing municipalities of all sizes. Now, if today's discussion was useful or even thought-provoking, we encourage you to subscribe to the show, leave a review, and share this episode with colleagues, counselors, and municipal professionals who care about strong local governance. Visit CROW.ca to learn how you can join us in a future episode and contribute to the national conversation on local issues. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and thanks again for tuning in to this edition of Municipal Affairs.